For those of you just joining us, welcome to the Fighting Age Male Society. This is where we tell you all about how to be masculine from top to bottom, from thinking to fighting to acting and dressing. This is the channel that is going to help you. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stick around to the end because I have something extra special that you're definitely going to want to know. It's not bad to jerk off. Now, what I mean by that is it's not totally bad. It's not horrible that you masturbate, dog. Don't let anybody make you feel like you're less than just because you jerk off a little more than the average. Now, I'm going to educate you a little bit on what jerking off really does. Because a lot of people tell you, NO-FAP November, or stupid shit like that. It doesn't make any sense. So, let's just dive into it real quick about the brain chemistry and the actual chemicals that get secreted while you're masturbating. So, long story short, what masturbation does is it releases dopamine and oxytocin into your bloodstream, giving you a quick feel-good hit. It's like smoking heroin or shooting that shit up, right? You get a quick, like, chest feeling, that slow, right? The repeated behavior is what creates the neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is your nerves regrowing in a different direction. So think of your nerves as like a highway. So the highway of your nervous system gets repaved every time you feel something good or bad. And generally speaking, depending on how bad your habits are, is whether or not that highway gets driven way more often than not. So the repeated behavior is what creates the cycle of craving and reward, which is basically similar to an addiction. And this is where everybody gets off saying, NO-FAP November, yeah, right? Because they don't like the fact that you jerk off, but you're still successful, or perhaps you jerk off and you're not successful. Usually it's for the people who are not successful. If you are successful and you jerk off, you understand what the fuck I'm getting at. So just to give you a little quick understanding of the aftermath, though, is this is why they tell you NO-FAP November, right? So after you secrete that dopamine and oxytocin, it gets released into your blood, your magnesium, whatever blood vessels carry that throughout the body. After the dopamine high, there's something called a crash, leading to the feelings of guilt, low motivation, and exhaustion. And so what this does is it creates that guilty feeling of, oh my God, I did something bad. You're so shameful for what you did. But in all actuality, what it is the guilt is just a slow reaction from your dopamine levels. So it's like going on a high. When you go on a high, what happens? You're way the fuck up there, right? So when you come back down to earth and you're sitting on the ground just feels like the fucking ground. But when you started on the ground, it was just the regular ground, right? You didn't have a high feeling about it or a low feeling about it. You were just there. But once you got up to, to skydive, now you're touching the ground again. The ground feels so much lower. But it's all relatively the same. So whether you jerk off or not, if you consistently stay the same person, then jerking off doesn't really affect you. The reason they tell you NO-FAP November is because the aftermath of frequent indulgence can actually disrupt productivity and overall mental health. So as you're mentally stimulating your fucking self 24/7, you're obviously going to come down during the nighttime and feel super, super sad. And the sadness doesn't equal depression, but a lot of people are too stupid to understand that. They definitely believe that sadness equals depression, so they think they jerk off all day, and then they think, why can't I feel happy? Well, because you're beating your dick off and you're secreting so much goddamn dopamine and serotonin release that your body doesn't know how to react to it. And not only that, your body has to release certain chemicals to counteract this and absorb it. So the more you release the dopamine and serotonin, the more your body, it's just like eating sugar. The more sugar you release into your body, the reason they have type 2 diabetes or what we call processed food disease is because your body has to release a shit ton of insulin to absorb that sugar. and eat it up, right? And carry it out of your body. But then you get this huge resistance to insulin. And then people get type 2 diabetes because they eat too much processed foods, which is too much sugar, which could also be cured. So it's an overall, it's a stimulating problem. You overstimulate yourself. You're overstimulating your brain. The dopamine is like overworking the muscle without any rest, if you think of your brain as a muscle. So balance and recovery are basically necessary in terms of jerking off. No-FAP November, I mean, it's not that it's bad, but it doesn't have to be good either. No-FAP November is just motivation. That's where the mindset, if you want to check out the other video on what I did on mindset and why you're failing, go ahead and check the link. But other than that, balance and recovery are necessary to maintain mental health and prevent addiction. So, constant dopamine hits for masturbating can truly affect your real life relationships by creating unrealistic expectations and reducing the ability to connect emotionally with those around you. And I don't mean that in a sense of you're not going to be romantic, but you're going to look for a quick fix. It's like doing a drug. That's why they tell you no FAP, because it's a drug. Your brain secretes all this shit. And when you secrete it too often, it's like an addiction. That's all it is. So if you truly want to understand your masturbation addiction, if you truly want to understand how to get over this, then all you truly need to do is know the science behind it. Every single time you nut, you're getting the dopamine release. And the oxytocin is exactly how mammals fall in love. So every time you release oxytocin, what do you think happens? You truly are being gay as shit because you're falling in love with fapping yourself, right? So building genuine connections requires time, effort, and patience. So should fapping. If you're going to fap, you fap maybe once, twice a week at best. And a lot of people like to freak out about that. No, you can't encourage that. Man, shut the fuck up. Anybody can truly do that if they want to. I mean, I don't do it all the time because I have a woman that does that for me. You know what I mean? I have my relationships. So, but when I didn't, I wasn't afraid to. I wasn't afraid. I wasn't going to let nobody make me feel lesser because I fucking jerked off. But I understand the science behind it. I understand that if I jerk off once, I'm definitely not going to do it a couple more times that day. If I do it a couple more times that day, you're going to be less motivated to do anything because nothing's going to give you that high again. So this is why they say no-FAP November. It just impacts your relationships and it doesn't really help you build a genuine character. So overall, the long-term consequences of it is overindulgence in masturbation can definitely lead to a lack of discipline and focus, which is affecting your goals in life and your personal growth. But I heard a quote the other day that really spoke to me, and it was, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to the strength of your systems. So in that, if you're a totally balanced individual, you can jerk off probably every single day. But if you're waking up at 5 a.m., working out, getting work done for 4 hours, reading, hitting the gym, you know what I mean? You're definitely going to be a little more farther ahead than the guy who's sitting on his fat ass, eating chips, gets home, can't wait to have a beer, jerk off, go to the bar, talk shit to some girl who doesn't want to be into him, comes back home kind of pissed off, looks at Instagram for 30 minutes, and then jerks off to an OnlyFans. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be as happy if you're not as dedicated to the life you want to live. But jerking off definitely doesn't stop you from doing that, but it also doesn't enable you to live any happier either. Of course, everybody's happier after they bust a nut. I'm happier after I bust a nut. But masturbation in moderation is not inherently bad, but a lack of control from it is problematic as fuck. So developing discipline and understanding the science behind these urges is definitely what's going to help you maintain health and balance. And if you found this at all useful, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe because now you're a little bit smarter.
I just did what I was supposed to do.